You are watching Fugitive Red Eye, and it has been way too long since I've done an episode of Tales from the Drive-Thru. So today I thought I would talk about, not necessarily one specific incident, but several general shenanigans sort of things that happened around, work. Now, as I mentioned, I got away with quite a lot of shit there. Stuff that normally would have got someone fired. I already gave the example of when we graffitied the freezer in the back. Another thing we did is we put ketchup in the coffee machine. Another thing was I used to stuff receipt paper into the air conditioning or the fan. I eventually stopped because one of my coworkers had to take it apart and fix it, and I felt bad, so I didn't do it anymore. And you know those Minion Despicable Me toys that they did a couple years ago? When Despicable Me 2 came out? Or no, it was the Minion movie. But they had those Minion toys, and I apologize if my breathing is a little unbearable. I've allergies, etc. But anyway, as I was saying, those Minion toys, right, they talk when you move them. So, or when you make noise near them, or clap your hands next to them, or anything like that. So, I turned on every single one in the entire restaurant. So anytime anyone walked past the Happy Meal cart, they would all start going off and setting each other off. It was funny as hell. My boss asked me about it. She's like, "Why did you turn on all the Minions?" I'm like, "I thought it'd be funny." She just left it at that. Then there was another instance where we were having an inspection the next day, and I threw away all of the, we had these script things for the drive-thru that tell you what you're supposed to say. I tore them all down and threw them away. My boss, she didn't fucking care. She just... Well, she did care. She yelled at this one girl who saw me do it because she didn't do anything to stop me. It's like, what? I come in, and she says to me, "I know you took down all those drive-thru scripts." I'm like, "Oh yeah? What are you gonna do about it?" She's like, "Nothing, I just know you did it." Or there was the time that I came in late, and they asked why I was late, and I simply said I wasn't properly motivated to be there on time. Another good example of things that I used to do was mess around with the customers in the drive-thru. A lot of it seems kind of stupid now, but it was fun at the time. And that place made me do crazy things, like dance around and grab myself and make that noise Michael Jackson did when he did it. But anyway, with the customers, a lot of the times I would... it started out, it was an inside joke. We used to call everyone who came through Andrew Noble as a reference to something else. Again, it's a very inside joke, so it'd be kind of difficult to explain, but it wasn't very funny. But it then evolved into us saying really random stupid shit like, you know, "Those fries are freedom fries," or "Would you like to try our tomato bisque soup?" Or we'd be like, "Welcome to McDonald's, our special today is the tomato bisque soup." And then when they'd ask, "Really?" I'd be like, "No, we don't have tomato bisque soup, or specials." It was pretty... It wasn't funny, but like I said, that place made me do crazy things. Also, I remember one lady I was messing around with. She worked at Arby's or something, and she's like, "Oh, if you worked for me, I would have fired you." I just ignored her. There was another lady, one time who was, like, really a total bitch. Like, she tried to cut in front of people in line in the drive-thru. She was honking her horn and shouting and being a total bitch. And she came up to my window, and after I gave her her food, she's like, "I'm going to talk to your supervisors about this." I'm like, "You do that," and I slammed the window in her face. Again, no consequences ever came for any actions I did in that place, but that's the only reason I kept the job, honestly. If they would have started enforcing policies, I would have quit a hell of a lot sooner than I did. Fight. In fact, it's a good thing I quit when I did, because they were starting to get stricter on certain things. Like, for instance, our old supervisor got fired, I think partially because of how much shit he let us get away with, but I'm not entirely sure. But that being said, I didn't mind it. McDonald's, it was by far the worst of the 4 jobs I've had. Anyway, another thing I used to do, I believe I already mentioned receipt ball, where I'd get receipts wet and throw them at stuff, leaving big white smudges everywhere. If not, I used to do that, especially on days when I knew we were having an inspection the next day, just to piss off my managers. Another thing I used to do is just write a bunch of stuff on receipts, but that wasn't really anything. I know I could take longer breaks and they wouldn't say shit to me, but they'd bitch at anyone else who took like a 1 minute longer break, and I'd be gone for like 10 extra minutes and they wouldn't say shit to me. Or, how they'd send me out to get stuff from other locations and I'd stop and get lunch along the way and shit and just sit and wait in my car for about 20 minutes. Again, I was never, like, more than... Like, I think the latest I ever came back was, like, after 45 minutes, and, it was kind of a far drive anyway, so that was a factor. Like I said, I wasn't a dick about it, but they let me get away with a lot there, so I used that to my advantage by far. I remember my manager actually trusted me. I mean, good reason. I was a good-hearted person and shit. I mean, one time this guy accidentally gave me $80 instead of $5, so I turned it in, and eventually when the guy didn't come back, they let me keep it. But, anyway, lots of stuff has happened there. I do miss getting away with anything there. Like I said, I've shown up 2 hours late before, and I didn't even get in trouble for that, or I would go several days sometimes where I just wouldn't show up. Like, I remember one Christmas Eve I didn't show up, because fuck that, I'm not working on Christmas Eve. And my manager's like, where were you Christmas Eve? I'm like, oh shit, was I supposed to work? And that, you know, that was always my excuse, and it always worked. I mean, eventually you'd think they would have caught on. I mean, I did get written up once, but that was because I missed, like, 4 days in a row. Other people have been fired for that, so I don't know. I got away with a lot there, and I miss that aspect of it. I don't get away with nearly as much at the job I work now, partially because that's all over the phone and all the calls are monitored, so I'm a lot more careful there, especially since there they actually enforce that sort of thing. But McDonald's was a much worse job, so getting through the day required me to kind of tune out and let myself go temporarily insane. But I think that about does it for this episode of Tales from the Drive-Thru. Of course, I do plan on doing more of these. It's just I've been doing other videos, so I took a little bit of a break in the middle there. But if you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like, and if you have any suggestions for future videos, I'm always open, and that's about it. You guys have a spectacular day, and I will see you next time. Tune in again. Turkey.